Wednesday evening, everybody. Spirit 420 here because everything I do is so 420. Even if it's fighting with the world, fighting with my wife, fighting with my kids, fighting with my mom. If I'm fighting, even when I'm fighting, I still am doing it. So 420. That's all there is to it. It's just so 420. And I wasn't in leave me the fuck alone mode, so let me just put that in place here. So that's done. I made the title pretty simple tonight. I shouldn't be going live, but I'm here anyway. Here I am. Why? Because this is something that not only I need to do, I must do for myself. Not need to do for myself, but I must do it for myself. You know, my whole, well, some of y'all, I should say no. Most of y'all know my mantra, and that is to find a positive spin on it, right? It doesn't matter what it is. I just talked about this the other night. If you turn a shortcoming or something, yes, life is a garden, and you should absolutely dig it. What's this here? Get in trouble, but I wear much love and support. Sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to get you in trouble, but I told you didn't have to be here. I told you did not. It was not pressure. I was just letting you know for my own mental health. But I try to put a positive. I try to put a positive spin on things. Many people called me a spin doctor. Right? Hope I didn't mess up too much. I've been called a spin doctor on more than one occasion because I'm in sales and marketing, and that's what you're taught to do. However, I look at this. When I say put a positive spin on it, that doesn't mean that. And that's what I was trying to get to. Is a lot of people think that a spin doctor is that they're full of shit. No, a true spin doctor finds a positive spin on it without it being a lie. To give you for instance, let's say that I'm in the holistic medicine arena, right? This is just top example on my mind. Well, many times that is an unregulated industry because of a big reality. Pharmaceutical companies do not want holistic approaches. They are cheaper. And what happens when people use them? They do not use the drugs that they have from the pharmaceutical company. Pharmacies do not, like, their whole business is that you're going to always take drugs. They come out with a drug to give you an idea. Which is, I get it. When they come out with a drug, I don't know if you know this, but most of these companies, they won't come out with a drug unless they feel like there's going to be billions. Like, that's their projection. They don't project in thousands, hundreds of thousands. They project at baseline millions and then billions, right? How many are we going to sell if we hook somebody and they got to buy it every month? Now we're talking trillions. Believe me, they don't know anything less than $1 million. Like, that's $1 million in the pharmaceutical world is like $1 in our world. Okay. And that is a fact. I've had the privilege and the understanding. I say that because it gave me great understanding, but I've had the privilege of, what's the word? Working for insurance companies and working for the evils of the world, right? I was a car salesman for about 3 days and totally was like, I can't do this. This is horrible. I just like that industry is all about what you can get past the consumer. Pharmaceutical industry is all about, can we get millions of people hooked on our product? So when I say that, and so you're talking to, let's say you're a holistic company and you're talking to somebody saying, hey, I think you should try my approach. They're like, well, if your approach was any good, it would already be a drug. You wouldn't want my approach if it was a drug. You wouldn't even want to, it would be a hard sell. Here's one of the beautiful parts. I don't even have anything, but I'm just saying, if I was holistic, right? You're like, if it's all natural, then it's the same things found in nature. So if it's holistic, it's all natural, and it is not a type of drug or anything like that. Well, again, if pharmacy thought for a minute, big farm, whatever you want to call it, thought for a minute that you would use theirs, or you would use the holistic approach versus theirs, then they're going to do everything they can, because we're not talking about $1. We're talking about a minimum of $1 billion. So start putting them together. I'm not making it up. Pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, they don't think about anything less than fucking million. That's just the way they are. So it is in Big Pharma's best interest to put down a holistic medicine. Not only put it down, but have it to where it's not even FDA approved. Because number one, the FDA approval then would become part of that holistic companies that, like, to get that FDA approval, they would have to pay for that hefty fee and campaign, right? But more importantly, it's just too much money out of their pocket, right? Here's the funny thing, as long as it can get FDA approved or is not approved by the FDA, you can say this either way, then you legally can't call something medicine. You have to say this is not medical, or this is a natural remedy. There's like a string of words that you can't use because it claims that thing as a drug, right? So I want you just to think of this for a minute. First of all, the development in these drugs, just so you know, stupid money. It's part of the reason that they only think in millions, because they end up paying millions of dollars usually just to develop one drug, right? And I'm not talking about small millions, big millions. Many times you're talking about even like 100 million, or maybe even 500 million, like $500 billion may have gone in. I'm not kidding, because the estimate on the other side, folks, is so much different. Let me just give you one idea. Okay, I'm going to go with a relatively cheap drug. Let's say this drug, brand new, and its performance on that first year. You got to remember, they can't make generics for a whole year, right? So you have that into consideration. For the first year, they essentially have a monopoly because they've got a new thing that's going to fix you, right? By the way, I don't know if you ever noticed, I know this is old school, everybody does notice it, but I just want to point out, these new things always come with like 25 fucking side effects that you have to eventually start taking another medicine for that, and then another medicine for that. You see how it works? Okay, we're just going with one medicine, just one, okay? By the way, who do you think makes, do y'all truly believe that the makers of the generic is not the same people that make the name brand? You really believe that? Come on. Don't be so naive, right? It's no different. This is the way the world works for most people who don't know. If you have a product and you are the maker of it, you will sell to the general public at one price. But then you'll sell to wholesalers and retailers at another price so that they can sell it at around the same price that you are. But what they also do, And most people just don't know this. But what they also do is most of them, if they haven't already, then it's just a matter of time, but they white label product. So they say to you as a businessman, hey, you see how well our product's selling, right? What if I told you you could put your brand and your sticker on it, but it would be our guts? Let me give you an example of this, folks. It's been happening in cars for years. Back in the 80s, I started seeing cars with, by the way, I'm talking about Fords, with putting up the engine and Yamaha looking right across the top of the engine. That was the 80s, 90s. Come on. Most people know, like, Sony's been doing this for years. They make the guts of these other brands. Panasonic does the same thing. Panasonic batteries, for the longest time, people were buying Amazon rechargeable batteries because it got, and this is why they try to keep the stuff on the down low, but it got out there that Amazon basics were Panasonic. They were the same fucking batteries that you could pay, right? You could pay like half the cost for them as Amazon that you would for Panasonic, but you're getting the same quality battery. What does that do to Panasonic? That puts a dent in their book, their book. They killed the Amazon contract. Sorry, you let somebody know. These things are supposed to be secrets. When I say everybody's doing them, folks, everybody is doing them. The people that are now learning business, this is like business fucking 101 that they're taught. You come up with a product, you sell it to retailers, you get a want for it, then you start to sell it to wholesalers and retailers, which in my opinion is completely reasonable because that's just getting your product out there. But once, and labeling is also reasonable, but once you change the price point, right? Like if white label gets it so cheap that they can charge less than your price on the website or in your store, that's not fair. So most companies now, Apple's one of them, most companies have what they call price protection. And it states that if you're it essentially is price protection. What it states is if you're a wholesaler or whatever of that company, then you cannot go below a certain price. That way you're not, and that's usually like 10 or 20%. That way people can do deals and sales, take 20% off. By the way, that should tell you, and here's again more carnal knowledge for those that you don't know. But your retail price, the retail price is the most inflated, even when it's coming from your direct manufacturer, right? They want it to be high. Why? So they can sell it low to the distributors and to the wholesalers and still make money. So where did all this come from, right? If you don't think that Big Farm is doing this kind of thing, you're ridiculous. And they know what's happening more than most of you do, right? They have a better idea of what's going on than most of us do. And what I mean by that is because they are paying people to do all these things. This is not conspiracy theories, people. This is how business is done. Once you have a product that's big enough, then you start to study your demographics. If you're studying your demographics, then you're going to find out who likes your product the most. If you find that out, then you're going to cater your ads to them. Please tell me you guys have been watching McDonald's or Burger King go at it for years with the best demographic of who is eating their burgers. So again, I'm not telling you anything that most of you should already know. I'm just giving you this food for thought as we sit here and have it, because that is, how do I say it? That is how the world runs. And if you're living in that world, then you are part of that machine somewhere. You're either working for a company, you own the company. Even if you are, here's what's funny, and people say, I'm not working for the machine. I'm not part of the machine. I have 18 sponsors and I do my thing. Did you hear what you just said? If you have 18 sponsors, you're not doing your own thing. You're doing your thing plus 18 of others and throwing them in, right? And it's plug is the word of the day. word of the century, whatever. But if you're going to plug it, it's because you get paid and you have to plug it according to what they say, not according to what you say, right? And even if you do, you still have to do a contract. If you're doing a contract, by the way, you've got to pay for either a legal service or pay for a lawyer so that you can have the contract. So again, this goes on. Nobody is by themselves. Nobody is privy not to being part of this machine. It is part of the entire machine that we live in, right? And if it, just so you know, I mean, if it stopped working, there would be hell to pay, I guess you could say. There would be, because you would be surprised how it crumbles the fragile freaking economy that we have is so dependent upon that. What's funny, I want to give you an analogy. I think most people have learned here in the last, I had 2 coffees with me tonight too, because I was running out of one and was running late. Oh. There. I'm going to tell you something cool. And then I just forgot it because I saw my second coffee and I wanted to butt in and say something about it. Oh, Chicago. Analogy. Crumbling. Okay, got it. Most people by now, and I'm saying most, you can't ever say, you can never say all, right? And why? That's a whole other story. But most people have come to the understanding that our wired electricity system and backbone that we built on the world, by the way, not just in one tiny city or one country. This is world. There's underwater lines, right? That whole backbone is about as fragile as a fucking an eggshell on this fucking wall. And let me explain why. I love how movies have shown this. This is not conspiracy. This is just reality. There's key things you could take out, and it would only take of them. I'm not even talking about the people that want it. What if it's just an accident happened, and like 2 of these are gone? Then you could have people that were without power, without water, without the basic essentials for weeks. Do you know how fucking insane an area would get in a matter of weeks if they didn't have water? Did you guys watch the television in the pandemic? Right. And that wasn't even like, oh man, that was nothing. And here's the sad thing. Our financial system, this was the whole point I was making, is more fragile than our electric infrastructure. Our electricity and our electrical infrastructure is more solid than our financial structure. If you don't believe me, do some studying and you'll find out just how crazy it is, which is why the people that buy and sell everything, right? Trading is everything, whether it's crypto, commodities, it doesn't matter. You're always trading something that's going on. One of the things that's traded, a lot of people don't know, it's called the Forex. Forex, Forex. Raise your hand if you know what it means, because I didn't know until I started selling in the air. But it's foreign exchange. So literally, and all this platform does, all the Forex platform does is trade one country's money versus another. So for instance, one of the pairs, and everything's in pairs because it's just one against one, right? Which it's literally, I can't even tell you. I love it because it's like legal, organized hedging of bets, really. So on the Forex, all you do is buy money. So you come in with $1,000. Well, you buy $1,000 worth of some other currency. For instance, let's say you buy $1,000 in euros, right? $1,000 in euros is not worth 1,000 euros. So you get the equivalent, right? And let's just say at the time it's like a 2-to-1, which it's usually, there's a big difference. Euros are definitely more valuable at this point. But let's say it doesn't really matter. Let's say it's for easy math. Let's say it's 2-to-1. So you're going to get 500 euros. Now the whole point is to stay there until the value of the euro becomes even higher than it currently is, only in comparison to the United States, the US dollar. So you basically, if you don't think it's fragile, then why would people be betting on it? And when I say it's fragile means two things. One, it could crumble very easily. And two, it's highly manipulated. It's the only point I'm making, folks. These are, again, a conspiracy theory is something that you cannot prove. Everything that I have said here tonight is factual information. It is not my opinion. It is what they do. It is what people are taught in school for business and all that stuff. And to me, it has nothing to do with what is important in life. I talked all night tonight. I've already been talking for 22 minutes and 33 seconds. Hey, Scott. And nothing that I've said was that interesting. No. Nothing that I've said was, at all metaphysical or really teaching you anything on to be a better person. And why did I say it? Because I think people need to remember, like, what is going on? What are you a part of every day? Because you're a part of that system somewhere. Even if you're a fucking Walmart clerk, you're working for Walmart, period, right? Even if you're a millionaire businessman, guess who you're working for? Clearly working for Uncle Sam, which is, that's the obvious. But at that point, you are also working for, likely, very good possibility that you might have a board of directors. Let's say you didn't sell out, okay? You are still working for your wife, your kid, your family, the people that have that job. And if you've had that kind of job, if you've had that business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anybody who thinks that running a company is somehow going to escape the stresses of work, it's not. But what it does, the nice thing, what I have found, the nice thing with owning a company, if you will, I have owned them before. I've just started one recently, right? The type of problems that you have are still similar, except you don't have. Here's what I don't like. When you're working for a company, I feel like you're in a fight with your arms tied behind your back, or maybe just at least one. So you're like, I can only dodge so many blows before you're going to connect one. Right? At least when you own the business, you kind of have two fists. But it's a different thing. And let me just say this. I sat for the last time I owned a business was 2012. I have sat last basically 10 years and was very content with just what they call in the world of sales, making my money on my own pen, right? And because sales, first of all, I don't get involved with anything that has caps, right? Cap means that you can only make so much. Everything that I work in the world of sales is always uncapped. So I can, as much as and as hard as I work, as much money as I can make. It's always up to me. Oh, shucks. I did it again. I'm so scatterbrained lately. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to the show, but as of late, I have been having this happen to me more and more. And I am trying to get past it, but some of it I think is just simply I'm getting older, so I'm losing a few of them brain cells. I need to start. I'm at the point now where I actually have to start writing things down so that I don't forget them. But I can't stand scripted. I mean, just in the sales world alone, I was just talking to someone today, like, I don't do scripts. I have a process of steps, but you can skip certain steps, and certain steps are dependent upon the previous step. But I know you're like, well, how can you do that? Because if you just understand my methodology and how it's done, you will, which I'm going to be teaching at some point in the future. But sales, it is most important to me to be quite transparent, number one. And the only way that you can be extremely transparent is that you love and truly believe in a product that you're selling, because that will come through. And if you try to script that, if you try to put that into a script or a process, I know I've done it, and I did it actually. I did well. Don't get me wrong. It can be done, but here's what happens. Most of your clients and most of your customers are people that are only there because of the script. You lose a lot. Yep. Right? No more mask. I get it. When you do it through a script, A, that's using a mask, but B, you lose all the potential to bring on other folks, whether you're selling a need or a want. If you do the script, you're missing a lot. You're literally, we call it leaving money on the table, because anybody who's smart enough to know it's a script is going to get out. So you lose them. What I teach, and it's the same way that I come with you folks. That's what she said. It's the same way that I present myself here, right? This is very similar to how I present myself when I'm in sales. Number one, all natural. Number two, from the hip. That is true. And you have a conversation. If that conversation leads to the fact that you need it and or you want the product and or service that I'm offering, then we can have a discussion. If it doesn't lead to that naturally, then there's really no reason for discussion. But I promise you this, but never have the conversation through a process. The people that are process you're talking to, and they're like, yes, no. It's like program salespeople selling to program consumers, that are, for the lack of a better term, and to give you kind of a good analogy, it's like people in the matrix selling to people in the matrix, and then people outside of the matrix can sell, they can sell a little bit differently. Like, hey, you don't have to do what the robot says. Check this out. So that's all I have to say tonight. Think about it. I will be back on Friday. I always feel better when I come on here and talk to myself, because see, I'm just talking to this little camera right here. So all I do is talk to that camera while I'm in here. And if I don't talk to that camera, I hear shit from it, because then my mommy goes, "You didn't see your eyes. Can't see your eyes." All right. Enough of that. I love all you folks. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your hump day, right? But that does mean that we're more than halfway through, so there's only 2 more days of this week, and then we can have a weekend. At least we got to start with a bang, having Halloween, right? So, wait, there's something. Yep, there it is. Love you too, man. Always, always. All right. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Because when I see you next time, the week will be over. It'll be Friday evening, and we can talk about things that are more fun to talk about. By the way, I know y'all have all done this. Just real quick. So I bet right there, I bit my tongue, and I bit it in such a way. Doesn't always happen, but y'all are going to understand this. I keep biting it because it's just a little bit fatter and a little bit bigger. And I've got to learn to move my tongue at a higher rate of speed now, or else I'm going to keep biting it. Or I'm just going to talk like this all the time. I'll get through it. Eventually it'll heal. So I love all of you. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And if you ever want to be on the show or do something like that, just let me know. In fact, I have a new guest that is coming on here soon. Just got to figure out when he's going to be. He wants to actually be live in my home studio, which it's not really that big. You don't see, but wall, it's pretty small. So have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. I hope everything works out for you, and I will see you on Friday night. Peace.
I switch here, I'm a strange fuck. Consist on ain't something I could say well. Throw my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish a day a swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.